Labour's poll rating. Labour entered government in July 2024 riding high. The Conservatives were collapsing, the country was crying out for change, and Keir Starmer promised stability, seriousness and competence. But less than a year later, that goodwill has eroded at breakneck speed. Starmer's government hasn't just hit turbulence, it's setting records for how fast public confidence can fall. And that collapse matters, because it follows one of the most politically chaotic periods in modern British history. Between 2019 and 2022, the Conservative Party went through 4 different prime ministers. From the Brexit fallout to Partygate and Liz Truss's 49-day implosion, the public had grown weary of instability. Starmer's rise was meant to end the chaos, but now many are asking, has anything really changed? Labour's support dropped from 37.5% in July 2024 to 25.2% by March 2025. By May, it hit 22% in some polls. That's a 12.3-point drop in under a year, the sharpest first-year decline for any UK government in 4 decades. How bad is this compared to the past? Let's put this into perspective. Tony Blair stayed popular for years. His approval ratings remained high well into his second term. Gordon Brown slid in the polls, but the global financial crash played a key role. The decline was slower. David Cameron, his approval dipped, but the coalition with the Lib Dems helped cushion the impact. In contrast, Starmer has overseen the most dramatic drop in support of any post-war UK Prime Minister in their first year. Now the question is, why is Starmer struggling with the public? One reason is poor communication and a vague narrative. Starmer has often struggled to explain what exactly his government wants to do with its time in power. Even among his own supporters, there's confusion about Labour's direction, and he has even struggled to clearly justify or communicate his government's choices to the wider public. That's not just media spin. Starmer himself admitted this. In an interview with Sky News' Beth Rigby at the G7 on 17th of June 2025, when asked about his biggest mistake so far, Starmer responded, "We haven't always told our story as well as we should."
Okay, PM, I'm out of time, but you're about to be Prime Minister for 1 year, so very quickly, one-word answers. Can you tell viewers the one thing you're most proud of and your biggest mistake?
In terms of mistakes, look, I think that we haven't always told our story as well as we should, explained our decisions in the way that might in retrospect have been better, but that's the nature of politics.
For a Prime Minister less than a year into the job, that's a blunt acknowledgement that messaging isn't cutting through. Another reason is unpopular policy calls. A big part of the backlash has come from the actual policy decisions. 2 examples stand out. Winter fuel payment U-turn. In summer 2024, Labour announced the winter fuel payment would only go to pensioners on pension credit, excluding millions. After public outrage and pressure from charities, the government U-turned in June 2025. Pensioners earning under £35,000 a year once again qualify for support. The second example is Labour's international agreements. One notable deal is the sovereignty agreement with Mauritius over the Chagos Islands, under which the UK will pay approximately £90 to £101 million annually for a 99-year lease of Diego Garcia. The Prime Minister of Mauritius later announced that the funds from this deal would be used to raise the tax-free threshold for workers, effectively enabling tax cuts in Mauritius at a time when UK citizens were grappling with rising living costs. These examples have fueled criticism that Labour isn't prioritising British voters, and that the policies they do roll out often feel reactive, not proactive. Starmer's personal approval ratings have followed a similarly brutal trajectory. By May 2025, his favourability had plummeted to a -46 according to YouGov, the lowest score they've ever recorded for him. Less than a year earlier, he was still in positive territory, making the fall one of the sharpest declines in recent memory. Only 23% of Britons now have a favourable view of him. 69% view him unfavourably. That's on par with his worst ever rating back when he was in opposition. There was a small rebound in June 2025, with his net rating improving slightly to -34, thanks to a 23-point jump among Labour voters. But nationally, 62% of voters still dislike him. So yes, the numbers are slightly better, but they're still dreadful. And while Prime Ministers usually take a hit after taking office, this level of collapse is something else entirely. While the winter fuel U-turn and the Mauritius sovereignty deal have drawn sharp criticism, highlighting concerns over both domestic priorities and international judgment, these are just part of a broader pattern. Poor communication and unpopular policies may have sparked the decline, but they're far from the only reason Starmer's support has collapsed so quickly. To fully understand the public's growing frustration, we need to look at the deeper structural factors driving this backlash. There's a consistent trend in the polling. Many people still don't know what Keir Starmer's vision actually is. After years of positioning himself as not the Conservatives, voters expected clarity and direction once he assumed power. Instead, Labour became embroiled in controversies reminiscent of the Partygate scandals that plagued Boris Johnson's premiership. Starmer and several senior Labour ministers, including Rachel Reeves and Angela Rayner, were revealed to have accepted substantial gifts, hospitality and perks from donors, all while introducing austerity measures like cutting back winter fuel payments and governing during a cost of living crisis. In an attempt to win over swing voters, Starmer delivered a hardline speech on immigration in spring 2025. It didn't land. Progressives were alienated, centrists were confused, and it ended up looking more like political calculation than conviction. But the backlash went deeper than confusion. Many on the Labour left felt betrayed. The speech's tone and language marked a stark departure from Labour's traditional values of compassion and inclusivity. Critics within the party accused Starmer of dog whistle politics, and some even compared his rhetoric to that of Enoch Bow, drawing a parallel that underscored the depth of discontent among the Labour base. One line in particular, when Starmer spoke of turning Britain into an island of strangers, provoked intense backlash.
Without them, we risk becoming an island of strangers, not a nation that walks forward together. So when you have an immigration system that seems almost designed to permit abuse.
The May 2025 local elections were meant to solidify Labour's grip on power. Instead, they exposed serious vulnerabilities. Reform UK and the Liberal Democrats made significant gains. Nigel Farage, now leading Reform UK, remains a disruptive political force. Though his own approval ratings remain low, he continues to attract working-class voters who once supported Labour, making it even harder for Starmer to hold on to the so-called Red Wall. Keir Starmer's rapid slide in popularity reflects more than just a few political missteps. It speaks to a deeper disconnect between his government's promises and its delivery. Voters were promised a clean break from the chaos of the past, but many now feel they've simply traded in one kind of uncertainty for another. Unless he can clearly define his vision, rebuild public trust, and unite a fracturing base, his government risks becoming yet another chapter in the very cycle of instability it was meant to end. As of June 2025, the next UK general election must be held by January 2029 at the latest, under the Dissolution and Calling of Parliament Act 2022, which allows a maximum 5-year parliamentary term starting from the first sitting of a new parliament. Since Labour entered government in July 2024, that gives Keir Starmer roughly 3.5 years until late 2028 or early 2029 to rebuild public trust and prove that his government can deliver. While the political damage in his first year has been sharp, the timeline ahead still offers a meaningful window. If Starmer can reset his narrative, deliver visible results and reconnect with disillusioned voters, particularly those in the Red Wall and swing constituencies, he has time to recover before the next election. But that window is shrinking fast and the pressure is only increasing.